Thank you, Gillen. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, the IAP's 2020 report distills lessons from a decade of every woman, every child accountability. It reviews progress on the implementation of the global strategy and shows where the remedy and action are needed. COVID-19 has demonstrated the centrality of health to social, political, and economic imperatives. Before COVID, progress towards 2030 targets to save the lives of women, children, and adolescents was already lagging by 20%. Inefficiencies from not making evidence-based investments and corruption meant that 20 to 40% of health expenditures globally were being wasted. The pandemic is making the situation far worse, and effects on women, children, and adolescents are huge. There have been shutdowns of sexual and reproductive health services and attempts to push through retrogressive laws. With mass immunization campaigns being stopped, 13.5 million children were left unprotected against life-threatening diseases. With school closures, 370 million children are missing out on school meals, and adolescents are suffering from social isolation and mental health issues. Predictions for the future paint an even grimmer picture. We could see a big rise in deaths among pregnant women and young children by 10 up to 50%, and disruptions in essential services and supplies. For every 3 months of lockdown, 15 million more cases of gender-based violence are anticipated. An estimated 42 to 66 million people have been pushed into extreme poverty, with women, children, and adolescents disproportionately affected and lacking social and financial protection. All of this shows why we as a global community must uncover the means to protect women, children, and adolescents, not just during this pandemic, but up to 2030 and beyond. We do indeed need a decade of action, as the Secretary General has called for. So, how do we do that? How should world leaders respond? The key is accountability. I know how accountability can change people's lives materially. It is a catalyst for transforming commitments into progress and directing a spotlight on inequalities and racial and ethnic discrimination and those left behind, not just in our response to COVID-19, but way beyond it. In practice, accountability means that world leaders, including heads of state, must fulfill their commitments to universal health coverage, primary health care, and international health regulations. The IAP report sets out an accountability framework with 4 pillars: commit, justify, implement, and progress. Our report gives 3 main recommendations as to how countries can build on these pillars. First, governments should invest in data systems. They must ensure, for example, that births and deaths are registered. They must monitor the quality and equity of service coverage. Next, accountability must be institutionalized with a formal relationship between, on the one hand, monitoring, review, and recommendation, and on the other, remedy and action. Finally, accountability must be democratized so that the voices of people and communities are heard and acted upon and are at the center of delivery. Yes, similar recommendations have been made before. What will make the difference now is the collective realization, catalyzed by COVID-19, that accountability is a must-have, not a nice-to-have. It must be embedded so that every leader and government is obliged to do what they say they will, with citizens fully able to participate and to claim their rights. When commitments are translated into progress and rights, only then will we live up to our promise to the world's women, children, and adolescents. It is to them that we are all ultimately accountable.